Difficulties. Had technical difficulties, but it's good. I hope y'all are able to make it back in the chat. Once again, it's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today we're talking about the Indiana Pacers versus the Detroit Pistons. Um, I'm looking forward to this game. I'm going to dive into it again. This is going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to take a look at my expectation for the Pacers, my expectation for the Pistons, my expectation for this winning streak that's looking to actually uh, become the longest winning streak for the Detroit Pistons in franchise history. This should be a great game for us, for the Pistons. It should be a terrifying game for the Pacers. And I'm expecting dominance. I'm expecting dominance. And I'm going to dive into that in this video. But before I do, yo, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Remember, it's a little thing for you. It's a big thing for me in the channel. Sorry if you're jumping back in from the technical difficulties from the previous live. Had a little situation, but I'm back. Hopefully, you have a chance to jump into this one here. See, I'm gonna give people a little bit of time to make their way over. Hopefully, they get the notifications. This is why you hit the bell for notifications. So if anything happens, you're notified. Hey, your man's back up. He's back in. Get at me. All right. Let me just start off with this. I'm gonna run through some of the points that I made previously. The Indiana Pacers are in a situation where they are in a gap year, and if you're not familiar with a gap year is, it is where teams are acknowledging that we don't have our superstar for this year. Normally, it's surrounding by an injury, right? Like a gap year, meaning you were doing really well, playing really well, usually championship contention, and then your star gets hurt. San Antonio Spurs did this when they got Tim Duncan. They were in a gap year. David Robinson got hurt. They lost. They got Tim Duncan the next year in the draft. And then all of a sudden, they were back in the NBA Finals the year after. And then they had a dynasty that was one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. Pacers are in a gap year. They're content with losing. They're not. It's not to say that they're not going to play hard. They're not going to execute. They're not going to maintain the culture, expectation of playing winning basketball. It's to say that they understand what it is and what it's not. They don't have their full accompaniment of talent. They have some positions of need that they have to figure out. That center rotation. Um, if I was them, I would have hung on to Wiseman instead of uh, Tim Bradley. Um, I just don't think Tim Bradley is a part of their future like that. Uh, and then you got Isaiah Jackson, Jay Huff. I would have rather them spent time in developing James Wiseman and seeing what he could be potentially long term. Just give him minutes. Shoot, I might have even just started James Wiseman just to see. Let him work through difficulties, right? Just to see, because that level of talent has the potential to be for them next year. What a Mark Williams, DeAndre Ayton, uh, Donovan Clingan, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Khalil Ware is for a lot of these other teams. The guy that could potentially be at the helm of anchoring a defense, of getting them into their defensive rotations, uh, checking the rim, making sure guys can't just have an easy walk to the basket, controlling the glass, right? James Wiseman has a lot of potential for the Pacers. So if I was them, that's who I would have kept on to. I would have held on to. Even though they needed to bring in a point guard because Nimhard and TJ McConnell were hurt and Cam Jones, everybody was hurt. I get it. But I would have held on to Wiseman. All that's to say is the Pacers are in a gap year, which means that they're content with losing. They're not going to press us, but they are going to play hard. The Detroit Pistons should come into this game with two specific focuses. Two specific focuses. And I'm going to get into that in this video. But before I do, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Remember, it's a small thing for you, big thing for me in the channel. All right. Without further ado, let's dive into it. I'm expecting the Detroit Pistons to be locked in from that starting lineup. I need to see focus. And that's been something that we have struggled with for a while, is focus. It's focus. And I don't mean for spurts. I don't mean for the first quarter. I don't mean for the first half. I mean for the full game. I need to see that the execution that I see on offense and defense in the first half is what I see in the second half to close us out. I need to see that the trust that Cade Cunningham has for his teammates if he's being pressured full court, passing it up ahead, getting it back on the wing perimeter, and then attacking his man and being able to score or play make out of the wing position is just as much a part of his outlook and scheming as it was in the first half as it will be in the second half. If we saw anything against Milwaukee, we saw a Cade Cunningham in the first half play one way that was very different than the second half. We saw Cade Cunningham passing it up ahead, playing within the flow, extremely efficient. The ball zipping around with energy, everyone touching the ball, and everybody eating. Whether it was Tobias Harris, whether it was Jalen Durant, whether it was Asar Thompson, whether it was Duncan Robinson, right? Everybody ate. Then all of a sudden in the second half, Cade is turning it on, right? Many times that's tricky because there's a need sometimes to turn it on, like when the Milwaukee Bucks were making their comeback from 20, close to 29 points down, got it down all the way, I want to say to like 11 or 9 points, right? Maybe that was the moment he decided to turn it on. But I need to see you be able to turn it on within the flow without the necessitation of being a ball dominant player who is becoming heliocentric. There are ways to dominate within the flow. And I want to see Cade figure that out in this game. Can you dominate in the flow? Dominate. One of the things that Jordan used to do, if you ever listen to Jordan, I used to love listening to Michael Jordan's quotes. I used to love listening to his sound bites, and he would talk about his game. He would talk about how he broke down the game. He's looking to get 8 points in each quarter. 8 points in each quarter. That's how he would look at it. He would get to his spots and he would time it. If he knew he had about 8 minutes in each quarter to play, right? Ends up with about 32 minutes, 32 points. He would say, I needed to recognize the pace of the game so I can get mine and make sure that everyone else got theirs. So he would go right to his spots because his big thing was efficiency. Efficiency. If he missed one jump shot, let's say he took a 18-footer, 20-footer, right? If he missed that shot, the very next possession, he was going to drive straight to the rim and either get a layup, dunk, or free throws. That's just how he balanced it out. I miss one shot, I guarantee the next shot. So what he was able to do for his career is shoot well over 50% from the field. That is almost unheard of for a perimeter-oriented player to shoot over 50% while averaging over 30 plus points per game. That was what made Jordan great. This is the differentiation when people start bringing in Kobe Bryant comparisons. I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan. This is no knock, but I'm going to keep it a band with you. I'm going to keep it 100. That's what I do. It's your man 100 grand. If you don't want somebody to keep it 100 with you, you got to go find somebody else. I keep it 100 with you. The difference between Jordan and Kobe was efficiency. There is a huge gap between over 50% shooting, 45% shooting. It's a huge difference. It's tremendous. And there were times where Kobe would shoot his team out of games and then attempt to shoot his team back into the game. So he would have a stretch run shooting 1 for 6, and then he would shoot 5 for 6. Ends up 6 for 12. But the 1 for 6 period, his team would fall behind. And then he would have the heroics of bringing them back into the game, right? That led to a very helter-skelter, up and down performance, and everyone else had to bring the stability. Jordan was the stabilizing factor for his team, and that is what the all-time greats did. They never let their team get behind. They always made sure they stayed on pace and they maintained momentum of the game. Okay, our offense, we missed a couple shots in a row. I got it. I'm going to my spot. And this is what I need to see from Cade Cunningham. Get to your spots, bro. Get to your spots. Get to the block. Get off the ball. Go run down to the block. Call for the ball. Get the pass. Make a quick move. Turn over your shoulder. One dribble, especially from that distance, from that range. If you're 8 to 10 feet out, you should be able to do whatever you need to do in one dribble. two at the most, but just one dribble is really what's necessary. And I need to see you working on that. I need to see like pre-game highlights of you working on that block, of you at the free throw line extended or at the elbow or what they call the nail, right? The elbow. You catching, turning, facing, one dribble, shoulder bump, step back, fade away. One dribble, bump, turn around, fade, right? One dribble, right into the chest, pull up, push shot. One dribble, pull up over the top. One dribble at the rim. One dribble, pump fake, up and under, right? I need to see you working out of that spot off one. Just something that Paul Pierce mastered, the ability to dominate from a certain area right around that free throw line that maximized his efficiency, and it also maximized the efficiency of the greater offense. That they were able to have this huge impact on the game based on being in the position where they could rely upon Paul Pierce to get them a bucket whenever they needed, to maintain the momentum and control of the game in and game out. That's what I need to see from Cade Cunningham in this game. That's what I need to see. That's my expectation. That is my expectation. Now, on top of that, what I need to see from Cade Cunningham is that you are trusting your team, playing within the flow. Pass the ball early, get that ball up early, and make sure that you are allowing your other teammates to get involved within the offensive flow without you disappearing. That means you don't mind being used for a decoy. That means you might set a screen for a guy. That means that you might catch the ball and look to hit a cutter, right? Maybe you look at Asar Thompson and be like, bro, you haven't scored in a while. When I get the ball in the post, the moment your guy comes to help, I'm going to draw him intentionally. I want you to backdoor cut and I'm going to look for you. Make sure you finish over the top. Isaiah Stewart, as soon as you come in the game, hey, let's run that pick and pop action. I'm going to hit you at the top of the key. Knock that thing down. Right? This is where you start being able to leverage your talent, your abilities to be able to make your teammates better. That is the next point. It's not just doing it within a flow. It's not just you doing it in your own recognizance. It's about you being able to do it in a way where you are controlling the game. This is the LeBrons, right? These are the Lucas. These are the guys at that level, the SGAs, the Anthony Edwards. What puts them in this bracket is that they can think the game and control the game up here in terms of how they strategize and approach the game, seeing what the defense is doing, and they are able to bring their team along. This is what the greats do. This is my expectation. Yo, what's good, chat? Don Jackson. I appreciate you in the chat. A professional domain. I appreciate seeing you in the chat. What's good? Pacers take good leads, and then the other team will come back from behind. That is a trap game, bro. And the Pacers will pull an upset because it's personal. I doubt it. I think we have too much for them, and I'm gonna get into that later. Um, Pacers will cover the 12 and a half. We'll see. Intermittent Productions was good. The 86 Celtics were the masters of the ball movement offense. Cade needs to understand that a superior player who catches the ball on the move is impossible to contain. That is, man, 100%. To Rag, do you think the Pistons could beat Indy if Halliburton was healthy? 100%. Doug McMenamin made it back. Yes, I did. I appreciate the last had a fandangle, technical difficulties happen, bro. But I'm glad that you made it back as well. Please smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe. Definitely share it if you know anybody who's in the chat who might have been from the other live. Please go ahead and share it with them and let them know we are back on. But definitely hit the like button. Get that algorithm up for me. Appreciate it. Look, my expectation of Cade in this game is to be dominant throughout, and that looks like trusting his team to play within the flow. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Now, remember, when I critique Cade, Big Ag, yo, what's good? It's good to see you in the chat, brother. It's good to see you in the chat. When I critique Cade, when I critique anybody on this roster, it's not because it's not for love. Right? It's not because I'm like hating on them. You can be honest. You can have an honest assessment. It's how we should be with our families. It's how we should be with our politics. It's how we should be with our uh, uh, liberalism, conservatism, whatever we are politically, socially, communally, familially, relationally. You should be able to accept the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, because it's all a part of it. And if all you can find is one side of it, then you're not actually being honest about what you're seeing. None of us are perfect. I always have this saying: none of us have ever had to be perfect to be great. Cade doesn't have to be perfect to be great. Right. And so when we critique, we're not critiquing them as a human being to point out a deficit, right? Like, I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I'm not going to trash somebody to make it seem like they have a deficit as a human being, right? Even as a ball player, right? They're in the NBA. I will always have respect for that. Always. You are in the greatest league in the world, playing against the greatest talents in the world. There is no other league that boasts this size, athleticism, talent, depth, speed, expectation of a marathon 82 game season, right? No other league is anywhere close. If you're here, you're one of them ones in a million already. Yes, Jay Huff is one in a million, but he's a third string big. Let's hold that for context. Tolu Smith, sorry, you are getting bench splinters. You're one in a million, bro. So let's be real. Let's be real. All that's to say is that as I critique, I'm just being honest at what I see. That's why I'm your man 100 grand. I'm going to keep it a band with you. Let's move on to Jalen Duren. Yes, I like Cade's game more when he shares and trusts his teammates too. I appreciate that. Jalen Duren, my expectation is dominance. Always from you. Because that's how I see you. I see you by the end of this season, you are a top 5 center. Go back and look at my videos. Go back and look at my videos that I've posted about uh, where I see Jalen Duren starting this season in terms of the best centers in the league. I think I had him at 16. I think I had him at 16. And then by the end of this season, I have him top 5. The guys that he is going to leapfrog by the end of this season are going to be guys like Domantas Sabonis, are going to be guys like Jarrett Allen, are going to be guys like Ivica Zubac, are going to be these guys that have been consummate, professional, fringe all-star, starting centers for playoff level teams. I'm not comparing him to Nicholas Claxton in Brooklyn. Being a starting center for a bottom feeding team is not the same as being a starting center for a playoff team. It's just not. It's just not. Let me just say this. Jalen Duren has been a part of a evolutionary iteration of the center position. He is now of the very few class of high level playmaking centers, meaning that not only can they take you off the dribble, not only can they facilitate, but they can also shoot over the top. And their physicality and footwork and skill allows them to outclass most centers that they are going to be up against. There's very few. You got Alperen Şengün, you got Derek Queen, and then you have Duren. Now you have Nikola Jokic, but Nikola Jokic is not as much of a face-up scoring center as much as he is a back to the basket, back you down. He's still in a class of his own. Joel Embiid is also in that ilk where he can face you up. Now, the benefit of facing you up is that you maintain vision of the entire court. You're able to see where the help's coming from, who's hedging. You're able to bide your time with your handle, a little hesitation to see what he's going to do. And then after you surveyed the field, make your move and maximize your ability to get to the cup. Most opposing centers have no idea how to stay in front of a center who's playmaking in that way. And that gives them a distinct advantage over them every single time. My expectation of Duran is dominance. What that looks like for him is getting up 15 shot attempts a game. When he is aggressive, getting to that 15 shot attempt per game mark, he's also getting to the free throw line. He's putting the opposing bigs in foul trouble. He puts the opposing team in team foul trouble, which means we get to the free throw line, which means that the other team can't play as aggressively on defense, which means that other guys like Cade and Asar and Duncan Robinson and Tobias Harris are able to eat because the defense has to be a little bit more attentive, right? And resigned, right? That has a ripple effect. This is why that position is so essential. This is why Shaquille O'Neal was so important, even if he wasn't knocking down free throws, because the foul trouble he puts you in has a ripple effect. This is what Asar Thompson also has to learn. It's what Asar, and I'm going to get to him. It's what Asar Thompson also has to learn, that his role is not just about him scoring, looking aesthetically how he would like to look. It is about how you impact the game. So when you are driving downhill and getting to the free throw line, even if you're missing, I don't care if you go 0 for 12, which is diabolical, but it's just get the point. Get the point. Is that Asar Thompson, you get to the free throw line, you are putting their defense in a compromised position that then has a ripple effect. Because you know what? The guy who just fouled you now all of a sudden doesn't have another foul to give against Cade Cunningham, doesn't have another foul to give against somebody else, which means that that next guy in the next possession is going to have an easier time of getting to their spots, getting to the key, getting to the basket, getting into the lane, making plays, and being able to score. You put us at an advantage every time you force them to foul you. So I need to see that aggressiveness, Jalen Duren, and then get to the free throw line. You're one of the better free throw shooting big men in the game. Once again, Alperen Şengün, Joel Embiid, now Derek Queen, and Jalen Duren. Your playmaking ability makes you elite. You ain't going to see it from Jarrett Allen. Evan Mobley is trying to get there, but he doesn't have the physicality yet. He doesn't necessarily have the passing skill yet. You do. So my expectation is to see you perform at an all-star level day in, day out. On the other live stream, I gave an example of Kevin Garnett being the big ticket. That was a nickname he gave to himself, but it was also conducive for his expectation of himself. He made it clear. He would say in interviews, I'm the big ticket. He may not start with saying I'm the big ticket, but he would say, my job is to go out there and get 20, 10, and 5 every game. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. That's how he grades himself. Holds down the defense, 20, 10, and 5. Jalen Duren, I need to see you approach every game saying 20, 10, 3 or 4 assists. Every single game. Not in foul trouble, every single game. That's the expectation that I have of myself, because if you are able to feast on these teams, these divisional teams, these conference teams, 20, 10, and 5, 20, 10, and 5, 20, 10, and 4, 20, 10, and 4, 20, 20, and 3, right? The variation starts from there. That's when you get your money. That's $32 million a year. That's the guy we know that we can depend upon. Because that is really what we're looking for. The dependability, the consistency of a guy who has the maturity to show up so that we know that we can count on him to make a run with Cade Cunningham. Big Ag says 35 million JD. I can see this payday now. I would say the only thing, this is what stopped me before about saying 35 million, is that most teams know that Detroit Pistons are going to match any offer they make. And the way the new collective bargaining agreement is set up is you actually have to clear that space off your books before you can make the offer. And in that space of time, you cannot sign anyone else that takes up that salary cap space. The risk when you are trying to steal a restricted free agent is that in that 24-hour span, someone makes an offer to your guys, not just the guys that you need to re-sign, the restricted free agents, right? Or the unrestricted free agents. but the guys that you want to go after you get your guys. So a lot of teams are not going after restricted free agents because it's too risky. We saw free agency last year and the year before. Those first few days, it's wrapped up. The majority of free agents are picked up in the first 24 hours, 48 hours. You cannot afford to make the offer and not know if you're going to get the guy, because if you don't get the guy, your team is now not just in a disadvantageous position, but you're in a compromised position. All that's to say is Detroit is kind of just bidding against themselves when it comes to re-signing Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. That's the advantage that they have through restricted free agency. And it's going to cost restricted free agents anywhere between 3 to 5, maybe more, maybe $10 million a year. A year. Remember, the relationship between ownerships and players is always tenuous. If you love your team, if you love the players, you should always keep one eye open at the owner. What the hell are you doing over there? What are you doing? Because the relationship that they have with the players is not a genuine, friendly, I've got love for you. It is, I know I'm taking advantage of you. I know that you're not making your true worth and value. I have arbitrarily created this concept idea of a salary cap under the myth of I could potentially be losing money, and I am the one who is investing to make this happen. So I should have an economic advantage over you, even if you are the one who's actually doing more of the labor to make all this work. Because I'll tell you right now, you can switch out these team owners for an ownership group, which is what's been happening. And you can switch out entire front offices with people who cost a fraction of what they're paying today. And if you have these players, you will get similar, if not the same or better outcomes in terms of how the NBA is doing as a whole. But if you swap out these players for anybody else, you will not have the same NBA. Let that be clear. So when we talk about restricted free agency, that is the caveat that I'm making, that they are already disadvantaged, especially in restricted free agency versus unrestricted free agency, which is why you're not truly a free agent until you reach unrestricted free agency to maximize your earning potential, which is still never your true value that you're bringing to a franchise. Remember, that's why when people get mad at what's his name in Dallas, Nico Harrison, I'm like, man, it's chess, not checkers, bro. He didn't make that decision. His owner did. He made that with not Donald Sterling. He made that with Adam Silver and Jeannie Buss. They got together collectively and they said, look, the future of the NBA needs an international superstar because we're trying to expand the NBA not just to the continent of Africa, not just throughout the Americas, not just throughout Asia, but also throughout Europe. And we need a face, an international face. LeBron's about to retire. Steph's about to retire. KD's about to retire. We need a new era. Luka's this guy that we're going to choose. And we need him in the market that has the greatest publicity. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give you the first pick of the draft. We're going to give you Cooper Flag. And we'll give you Anthony Davis. And with Kyrie, you should be able to work it out. But don't worry, we're going to take care of you on the back end. That's real business. That's real business. That's what really took place. Now, then they go to the ESPN pundits and they go, it was Nico Harrison, right? Blame that guy. Don't look at the business side of it and blame the people who focus mostly on the money more than anything else, even if it disadvantages you, the fan, especially you, the fan. They gave you someone to blame, took your focus off of who's really was making the decision, right? Because if you start focusing on them, then you might actually back the players in their next collective bargaining agreement and be like, hey, we're going to follow the players. And that becomes a dominant narrative. Now all of a sudden they don't make the billions of dollars that they were making over the players, right? Let's just be real. Oh, it's definitely rigged. The NBA draft is as rigged as it needs to be. Derrick Rose to the Bulls was rigged. LeBron James to the Cavs was rigged. It's not about Victor Wembanyama to the San Antonio Spurs was rigged, right? And it's not. It just understand it's chess, not checkers. You don't risk the potential future face of the NBA going to the Charlotte Hornets in the way that Zion Williamson went to the Pelicans, right? So let's just keep it above board. Let's just keep it a band. Let's just keep it a buck, right? Speaking of keeping a buck, I got 21 people in the chat, only 6 likes. Come on, y'all, help a brother out. It's a small thing for you. It's a big thing for me in the channel. I appreciate all y'all in the chat. Love your support. Keep the questions and comments coming. I'm gonna try to answer them as I get through this live. Taco Bell says K to the Pistons was rigged too. I don't know. I don't know. I'll say that because that was a very closely contended competition for who could be the number one pick. K, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley. I was sure on Cade. Most of us were. But let's remember Scotty Barnes made the All-Star game before Cade, and probably would have continued to had he not gotten hurt. Evan Mobley looks like the second coming of something between Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. You see, he just had to get his body right. He's still working on that. Jalen Green probably just needs to be in a better, more matured situation. Had he not gone to Houston with Kevin Porter Jr. in that franchise trying to lose on purpose, he would have probably developed a whole lot better. You take Jalen Green, like who I wanted Jalen Green to go to was Cleveland. I wanted him to play alongside Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen. I thought that would have been a perfect fit. Evan Mobley in Houston with Kevin Porter Jr. and John Wall, perfect fit. And Dylan, eventually Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. But it's just to say, and Jabari Smith Jr. It would have been a great setup. But you get ownership who just wants to flash. Let me get that guy instead of thinking about team construction. All it's to say is, I don't think that draft was rigged. But I digress. In this game for the Detroit Pistons against the Indiana Pacers, I'm expecting Jalen Duren to be dominant. And I need to see that he expects that of himself. And his approach to this game is to dominate. Cade, trust your team. Play within the flow, dominate within the flow. Jalen Duren, approach this game with dominance. Not just in the flow. I actually want you, if I'm honest, to break the flow. I want to see Jalen Duren get the ball, fake the dribble handoff, clear that thing out, and attack Isaiah Jackson, attack Jay Huff, Pascal Siakam, Tim Bradley off the bounce. I want to see that he is able to show that he has a recognition that they can't do nothing with him. It's not just barbecue chicken. And I keep saying this. It's not just barbecue chicken. Sorry, not Tim Bradley, Tony Bradley. Tim Bradley is the boxer. I watch boxing too. Shout out to Devin Haney with the win, even though I need to talk about that some later. But it's to say, he has to have an understanding that there are very few, if any, opposing centers who can stay in front of him. He has probably one of the clearest mismatches on this team. I love Cade, but there are guys you can put on Cade and say he can hold his own, right? Whether you got Alex Caruso, a Dyson Daniels, whether you got a Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, these guys can make it difficult. They can make Cade shoot 40%, 45%. He'll still get his numbers because he's that good. He's a superstar. But they can make it difficult. Who can you put in front of Jalen Duren and say this guy is going to contain Jalen Duren? Who? Who? Marvin Tolbert, yo, what's good? It's good to see you in the chat, brother. Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Doug McMenamin, I'm glad you found me after the technical difficulty. Taco Bell was good. Salute to you, brother. Rashad Walker, it's good to see you back in here. Big At, yeah, salute. It's good to see everyone in the chat. Keep up the conversation. Intermittent Productions, appreciate seeing you in the chat. Professional Domain, it's good to see you in the chat. Oh, I think there's one more. Hold on. Don Jackson, it's good to see you in the chat. Salute to you, brother. let me just say this. The next one I want to get to is Asar Thompson. I got to Cade. I got to Durant. I want to see Trust dominating the flow by Cade. I want to see Jalen Durant dominate his minutes every single time. 15 shot attempts. Stay aggressive. Be willing to break the flow and say, I need to assert myself. Now, I need to get to Asar Thompson, one of my favorite players. He was the catalyst for me following the Pistons. I followed the NBA. I've been following the NBA. I always will, always have. I used to love players more than teams. I used to follow teams that I trusted. And I mean organizationally down because not every ownership group is about winning. I ain't gonna follow you just for the hell of it, right? I wasn't gonna follow the Michael Jordan led Charlotte Hornets, right? He wasn't making winning decisions. I'm not gonna follow Donald Sterling Clippers, right? I'm not gonna follow, the old racist owner in Phoenix. Wasn't following those teams. They weren't about winning. So I used to follow more players. All that to say, when I found out Sar Thompson was from the Bay, him and his brother, right? My daughter goes to a learning space. Used to go to a learning space uh, with this woman who used to babysit Amin and Asar Thompson. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I was like, oh shoot, we locked in, and that's how I started following the Pistons. Now I got to keep it a band with you. Yeah, I ran into you at the coffee shop downtown Oakland. I recognize you. Of course, you didn't recognize me. I made the first assumption that, man, you taller than 6'6", 6'7", bro. You look like you was 6'8", close to 6'9". He looked big. He looked tall. He looked legitimately. He looked like 6'7" without shoes. Put it that way. 6'7" and change without shoes. I'm gonna keep it a band with you. Sar Thompson, you're one of the greatest talents I've probably seen in the NBA ever. It's not always about shooting jump shots. It's about skill, versatility. It's about athleticism. It's about the ability to read the game, a feel for the game, to play within the flow, to impact the game in so many different ways, right? I love the Scottie Pippens and the Andre Iguodalas as much as I appreciated the Michael Jordans, right? I love the not the Scotty, the Penny Hardaways and the Brandon Roys, right? Guys who had diversity of skill set. I loved guys who contributed across the board, made people better. It's not always about shooting. It's not always about scoring, but it is about being locked in and competing. And sometimes, if I'm honest with you, lately your body language has been killing me. Your body language has been killing me. I understood last year in the playoffs when you began to defend Jalen Brunson with your hands behind your back because you were recognizing that Jalen Brunson was foul baiting. He was flopping. He was flailing, doing anything and everything he could to get a foul called on you to get you off of him because that's how dangerous you were. And so to counter that, you put your hands behind your back. I get it. I saw it. Okay. I got it. I got it. I got on Jalen Brunson's top, right? I lost a lot of respect for him off of that because that's not how I grew up hooping, right? I grew up hooping. I don't know if y'all hoop this way. Nowadays, it's kind of weird. Kids just only want to hoop indoors in the league and stuff like that. We hooped outdoors. We were middle school kids hooping against grown men who were playing after work, tired, frustrations, little dehydration, hungry, but needed to scratch that itch and hoop. And so when you went out there as a kid, they're like, I'm not going to let this kid be able to keep me from playing on the court. So they played you like a grown man. And if you were a kid, freshman in high school, short, skinny, and you started getting off, they put that little forearm into you, put those little hands on your waist, keep you right there. Hand checking was not called. Fouling you on a jump shot was not called. In fact, if you were calling a lot of fouls, man, they ran you off the court. Man, get out of here, bro. Get out of here. They might want to fight you, right? So you learned that you just had to hoop. You may or may not get the call, but you had to come with it. You had to compete. And sometimes your body language does not look like you're locked in to compete. And that gets on my nerve because I'm one of your biggest fans, Asar Thompson. And when I see you out there pacing yourself, looking a little bit out of it, almost disinterested, I know what you can do. I know how hard I've rooted for you, how hard I've advocated for you to be starting, watched you grow. I'm a fan. My expectation is to be reciprocal. Remember, keep in mind, I get you're 22 years old. I'm a grown ass man. I'm a dad. I work. Us fans, we work jobs, hard jobs. I'm not saying playing the NBA is not hard, but you get to do something you love that you get paid a lot of money for to play a game. I'm not removing your humanity. All right, I get it gets tough. Injuries, right? The road trips. You're tired, fatigued. Many times you're isolated. Mental health. I work in mental health. I get it. I get it. I still have an expectation. If I'm tuning in to watch you because I'm a fan of you, I want to see you hoop, bro. I'm rooting for you, right? I saw you disrespect Ryan Rollins. You should have seen out jumping up. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Out there ripping him at half court at the end of the first half. Ryan Rollins tried to dance. You knocked the ball away, chucked his little ass to the side like they used to do me when I was a freshman in high school playing against 30-something-year-old grown men, right? Chucked me to the side. I'm flailing like, and you chucked him and you got that breakaway dunk. That's my dude. Then I also watched the second half of the game and you're defending him with your hands behind your back, which means you give him an extra split second to get his shot off. You let him have a better second half, get to his numbers. And I get it. We were blowing him out. We were winning. But my expectation for you is consistency. There's a certain level of play I need you to get to. I don't need you to make these all world plays where you're ripping them at half court. That's like a 9-10 level. That's those things of beauty. You're just like, wow, shock and awe. I need you to be at an 8. I'll even take a 7 from you. No, scratch that. I want an 8. Day in and day out. A level 8. A level 8 for me, for you. Consistent pressure getting downhill to the rim. Consistent, whether you get fouled or not. I want to see the turnaround, fade. I want to see the bump, floater over the top. I want to see the little push shot. I want to see you dunking. I want to see you consistently trying to score at the rim, even if you miss, bro. At least once a game when they kick that ball out to you at the 3-point line and you're wide open. I know they're leaving you open on purpose. I just want to see you trying to make that shot because I understand the long-term ramifications of you continuing to develop that shot. It's not because you're going to be great now. It's because in a year, 2 years, you're going to get to average. And average for you means absolute dominance in every other aspect of your game and who you are as a whole and what you bring to this team. I need to see consistent offensive scoring aggression from you. The second thing I need to see, get your hands up on defense, bro. Get your hands up on defense. You know, I trust you to be able to prevent them from being able to foul bait you by moving your feet, keeping your hands out, not getting called for a foul, while also keeping your hands up so you can get those deflections on the pass and prevent them from even trying a shot, let alone contesting it. Get your hands up. And the last part is rebound. That's one of the greatest factors for me to understand if you're locked into the game with you and Ron Holland. Asar and Ron Holland both. Rebounds. If you're not at somewhere between 6 to 10 rebounds, you weren't locked in. Period. Period. Teams are figuring out in order to beat the Detroit Pistons, you got to pull the opposing big out of the paint so they can't dominate the glass on the offensive and defensive end. So what they do is they run plays for their opposing big man to get to the 3-point line to shoot threes. Now, Indiana doesn't have a 3-point shooting big. Jay Huff, maybe, but definitely not Isaiah Jackson or Tony Bradley. They are going to do some pick and rolls to get you out of the paint. When they bring, not you and Asar Thompson, but when they bring Jalen Duren out of the paint, Asar Thompson, you have to clean up the glass. But what that also means for us is that when you're getting the defensive rebound, you are kick-starting our fast break, which means because I know you're such a good facilitator, you have such good playmaking and floor vision of the court, and you make really quality passes, meaning that guys are catching it in their chest. They're catching it in stride. They're catching it where they're going. It's not behind them. It's not too low. It's not too wide. It's that you get them the ball right where they need it to be able to maximize their potential to score. That's what you do. I know that about. I've seen your game. I've watched you. I love your game. Get the rebound so you can play that point forward role. That's what I want to see from you. Consistency. Those things. Hands up on defense. Consistent offensive aggression trying to score. And rebound the hell out of the ball. Now, let me get off the starting lineup. That's who I'm expecting to set the tone to be locked in for this game. That's my expectation for the Detroit Pistons. Now, let me get to the second part. I need to see a tight bench rotation that shows JB Bickerstaff understands who are the guys who need to be primarily focused on coming in off the bench. If Tobias Harris and Duncan Robinson are starting, Isaiah Stewart, Jaden Ivey, and Dennis Jenkins should be your first substitutes off the bench. Dennis Jenkins is better than Javonte Green. He's better than Ron Holland. He's better than Karis LeVert. He's better than Paul Reed. He brings more to this team than all those guys, especially because of who else we have on the court. Dennis Jenkins, when he came in the game against the Milwaukee Bucks and they were going zone, he completely destroyed their zone and got them up out of it. He knew how to ball fake and shift the defense so he can get that great pass underneath to Isaiah Stewart for the dunk. He was able to drive into the gaps and finish. He was able to find guys cutting to the middle. He did all the right things. Ended up in wide open threes. He knocked down a beautiful three at the top of the key, barely touched the net. Dennis Jenkins shows over and over again, doesn't matter how many minutes you give him, whether he starts or comes in off the bench, that he is an invaluable piece to this team, a piece that we've always known that we've needed, which is why we went out and grabbed Dennis Schroeder last year after Jaden Ivey went down. And now with Dennis Jenkins, we don't have to see if Jaden Ivey can be a floor general. We don't even have to see if Cade can be a floor general. We no longer need that because we have that piece. Dennis Jenkins needs to be in this rotation early. I don't want to see Karis LeVert in the game before Dennis Jenkins. I don't want to see him splitting minutes with Karis LeVert and Javonte Green. In fact, I already said, real talk, Ron Holland needs to be in the G League right now, getting 30 plus minutes a game, getting his rhythm back, dominating competition, scoring 20 plus point games, 30 plus point games, 40-point games, right? Having stat lines of 25, 8, and 6, hitting 5 or 6 threes in a game. Let Marcus Sasser get his legs back in the G League, playing 30 minutes. Chaz Lanier, right? Tolu Smith, Bobby Klintman. We got other guys like Wendell Moore, right? We still got Paul Reed. We still got more than enough guys. We can, matter of fact, we can put Ron and them down in the G League and still call them back up to play on the main team, especially for home games. We have that ability and luxury to do that while still having a lot of depth. I say that to say is that we need to shore up this rotation. I get Ron Holland is a part of this team's future. It's not to take Ron Holland out of this team's future at all, at all, at all. It is to acknowledge that this team right now is trying to figure out a rotation to make a potential conference finals run. And for Ron Holland to truly be ready to be a part of that rotation, he needs to be playing at a higher level. Efficiency, focus, rhythm. And we're still having to work through how do we find minutes for Dennis, Ivy, Javonte, Karis, Paul, Stu, all off the bench. That's 6 guys. 6 guys. And that's not including Marcus Sasser when he gets healthy or Ron Holland, because then now that's 8 guys off the bench. No team uses a 13-man rotation. They just don't. So what I want to see is a tighter rotation to create an expectation that allows this team to become accustomed to who they're going to be playing with. Because one of the biggest holes and gaps on for this team throughout this winning streak, this 15-2, has been the constantly changing and evolving lineups. Having to try to build chemistry on the fly constantly with a new guy starting, with a new guy playing a certain role off the bench, with a new guy who is developing their game, playing differently than they did last season, this season. We need to get some continuity, especially when we start looking at these back to backs, especially when we start talking about putting teams away, especially when we start looking at expectations or even the trade deadline. I don't really think we need to make a trade, but it's to say, free agency, we need to have a clear understanding of who our free agents are. Dennis Jenkins, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren. Top three most important. Tobias Harris as well, but he'll get taken care of, I believe. We need to know what we have in those guys. Ron Holland has 2 more years before he gets there. Sarah Thompson has another year before he gets there. I mean, we can't extend him this offseason, but he'll probably bet on himself too. Marcus Sasser, restricted free agent, or we can extend him this summer, restricted free agency next year, next summer, right? Not this coming, but the following. We need to know what we have in the guys that we got to make decisions about. We need to have a tighter rotation. And it's a real conversation to have with these guys. Like, look, Paul Reed, look, we got you locked in for 2. Karis LeVert, we have you locked in for 2. Duncan, we have you locked in for 2 with a possible third and partially guaranteed in that second. We're probably going to pick it up. Bobby Clements, similarly, we got you locked in. We're going to need you to be patient. We're going to need you to be a professional. I know it sucks, but we need you to stay ready, which is why we're going to put you in the G League so you can be getting your minutes, developing your game, so you can come and hit the ground running just like Dennis Jenkins is right now. If we have another injury or another need for you to come in and play big minutes, we have an opportunity to play someone who's ready to go, not been sitting there stiff on the bench. I want to see a tighter rotation because Dennis Jenkins can run the hell out of a second unit. The reality is Dennis Jenkins is a starting level NBA point guard. I am convinced of that. Just how big of a talent he is there to be seen. But he's a starting level point guard, which means on this team, he should be a high functioning rotation player. He should be a player that is coming in off the bench quickly. Between him and Jaden Ivey should mean that between Cade, Asar, and D-Rob, Duncan Robinson, they don't really play more than 30 minutes a game because you have the talent, you have the depth, and keeping their legs fresh bodes well for their long-term career as well as the marathon of this season. Isaiah Stewart, I will say this. I need to see you more locked in. Know that teams are going to try to foul bait you. You need to understand that. Teams are going to foul bait you. They understand the impact that you have. They want to get into tussles with you. They want you to pick up technicals. They want you to pick up flagrants and personals. They want to get into your head. Because if you are not focused, if you're in your head, you're not recognizing the difference between when you need to do a pick and roll versus a pick and pop. You're not recognizing how you can rotate off ball to be wide open for a kick out on the weak side wing for a wide open 3. Your 3-point shooting is absolutely lethal. What Onyeka Okongwu is doing in Atlanta, 100% you can do. When you had that 20, 10, and a couple blocks game, I go, oh yeah, that's what Isaiah Stewart can do. I'm not shocked by that. Other teams know that that's what you can do. And they try to get you out of the game by getting into your head, by wrestling with you. And you're going to have to figure out how to be physical. Keep being physical. Keep being you, but be a smarter you. Be a smart you. Don't be obvious. Don't be plain. Don't be right there in plain sight where the referee is like, bro, I have to call that. You put your elbow in his throat in front of me. I gotta call that. Come on now. You know what I would rather see? This is what I really want to see people get back to doing. Put dudes on their ass when they come into the paint. Just a good old fashioned hard foul. Somebody's chirping with you. Okay. They drive. I'm gonna go for the block. But whether I get the block or not, I'm putting you on your butt, putting you on your backside. And it's an NBA. I'm gonna make a real play on the ball. But you're gonna feel me. I'm not gonna throw an elbow. I'm not gonna get into a tussle back and forth and I'm pointing my finger in your face. I mean, maybe it gets there. Who knows? But you're gonna feel me, bro. You're not gonna talk trash to me all day. And I just sit back and not get my lick back. Do it in the flow. That's what I'm saying to do. And don't lose sight of everything else we need you for. The rim running in transition, right? Get an easy post up, finish over the top, wide open threes, a little bit of playmaking, passing, maybe even take your man off the dribble a bit on offense, right? Offensive glass, defensive glass, do all that. Get your blocks. You should be ending games with 10 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, shooting 2 or 4 from the 3-point line. Right? That's what I expect from you. I need you locked in though. I need you locked in. I need you to start playing more consistent. Because what I don't want is to get to the playoffs and you got 15 technicals and then all of a sudden you get one in the playoffs and now you're suspended. And now we don't have you in a crucial game 5, game 6. Because I guarantee you in the playoffs, they know your potential impact. And they're going to sit there and look at you and say, he's got 14 technicals on the season. Let's get him his next 2 technicals so that he could be suspended for a game. And then we can have him off the court. I'd rather deal with Paul Reed than deal with Isaiah Stewart off the bench at center. The Knicks are going to do that. Everyone's going to do that. Isaiah Stewart, play up here as much as here. Look, that's my expectation for this game. Dominance. I don't think that this game should be close. It should not be close. It should not be close at all. It should be a blowout game. Um, but it's going to take this team being locked in. I look forward to seeing it. After the game, I'll probably do a recap. But as always, I like to leave y'all with something. And I think I'm going to go with the theme that I had earlier of no one has to be perfect to be great. That is a real sentiment. And I think that many times in our society, it's very easy to get dogmatic about ourselves, needing to be everything, needing to be Superman, needing to never be tired, never be anxious, never be worried, never be sad, never feel alone, never feel disgruntled, never be too frustrated, never be uncertain, insecure, all these different things that it means to be a human being. Never not have it all together, never not be good and okay. Your best friend comes over, asks you how you're doing. Oh, I'm good. And you never talk about everything that you're carrying, right? You never get the support and help you need. You don't have to be perfect to be great. Jordan was never perfect. LeBron was never perfect. Kareem was never perfect. Right? The bad boy Pistons were never perfect. Our championship years were never perfect. This team is not perfect. Still great. We're still 15-2. But take that sentiment and apply it to you. You don't have to be perfect to be great, bro. Live your life to the fullest. Take chances, take risks. If stuff's not going well, be honest about it. It's okay to fail, right? I posted in the last video that old Jordan Nike commercial when he talks about I missed this many shots, I missed these many opportunities for game winners, right? And at the end of it, he walks off and he's like, "That's why I succeed," right? Nike Jordan, just do it, right? But that's the reality for all of us. You're gonna fail a lot at life, a lot. But that's actually the process of you learning and getting better. The reality is, most of us don't realize that our greatness inside of us has far more potential than what we've been conditioned and trained to pursue. If we put the same amount of energy that we put in going from kindergarten, high school graduation, maybe a little college, trade school, what have you, experience, we put that same amount of energy, time, attentiveness, focus, the homework assignments, the projects, the report cards, the studying, the the practicing. If we put that same energy into the things that make us excited about life, passionate, that we can't wait to get up and do, the things that we're naturally predisposed to desiring to learn about, yo, our potential in those areas is off the charts. It's off the charts. Your greatness is already in you. You just got to put the work in. And the beautiful part about it, when you combine that with the whole law of compounding, if you don't know about that, check it out. The law of compounding is that you don't move linearly. You put the work in. And the more work you put in, you take jumps. Whatever it is that's inside of you, start pouring energy into it. Not perfectly, not never failing. Anticipate you're going to fail. It's going to teach you where you can learn and grow. And that's how you get to those jumps. Put the work in. You're dope. You're great. And you ain't got to be perfect in order to do so and be so. Look, I'm going to leave it at that. As always, have an amazing day. Get some sunshine. Spend some time with loved ones. Love deeply. Laugh hard as hell. And live your life to the fullest. Love y'all. We'll get y'all after the game. Peace.